Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, there. Hello, and good morning, kids and cubs, and welcome to Season 3 and episode number 354, I believe it is. No, sorry, 55 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Cryo Media Network. Yay! Today, recording day is Monday, April 8th, 2024, and this is a special eclipse edition of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. I love it. A little style. Man. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and with me as always is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. We're going to have a quick show for you today because your Eager Beaver is still in curling playoffs, so we have a match today, which was supposed to be at 1:30. We were supposed to have a longer show, but because it's Eclipse Day, and a lot of people wanted to see it, and we're right in the band here in Kingston. So there's stories about 1 million people expected in Niagara Falls. Well, there's about 500,000 expected here, and I think Kingston's a city of 130,000 people.
Yeah, you guys are going to be really crowded.
Yeah, and we have family coming.
Niagara Falls is what? Is it 100,000 in Niagara Falls? Is it that big? No, it's not even that big.
I'm not sure at all what the population of Niagara Falls is.
But
I mean, it's more of a tourist hub, right?
Yes.
To start with, so there's here. That's not necessarily the case, right?
Well, Kingston is a tourism town, but not like Niagara Falls is, right?
No, nothing like Niagara Falls. So yeah, and we have family coming. So yesterday was house cleaning day for us, and by us I mean Beaver Sweetie, because I was fried. I was of no use to nobody yesterday. Well, correction. We had both our shows on Saturday, and then Riverhead Brewing Company. If you have an opportunity to support them, please do. Their establishment was closed, but they opened it up after the show just for us. So for the first time in my life, I was at you always hear those private bar parties where the bar is closed and everybody that's in the bar gets to stay and do what they want. But that was my first one, sort of like that. So it was a fun evening. It was just us. Didn't stay too long. And the next day I had some curling in the morning, and then we helped move the stage. So when we struck the stage on the Saturday, we just took all the props out and all that kind of stuff and put the clothes away and cleaned up the space. But the scaffolding and the platforms and whatnot, those had to be dismantled and moved and put on a trailer and whatnot. So that was the next morning. So we went there and did that. And then I was useless.
Well, imagine.
Yes. So yesterday, the Beaver Sweetie removed everything off the floors, swept, mopped, tidied up, and I slept, and then I folded clothes and put clothes away, and then we went to the cast party, and then I came home, and then I slept. I was someone's going to be taken out for dinner.
I can well imagine. Yeah.
I know.
So my silly badonkadonk doggy.
I am sore all over. And so, but very, 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 very happy. And as you can see, I'm very much awake because with all that sleeping, I kind of woke up at 4 o'clock this morning. So
I've not slept the entire weekend. The entire weekend I barely slept. It's Saturday morning, up early, 7 a.m., which is late actually, technically, but took her out, took Lola out at 7 a.m. on Saturday. We got to the end, so I come out front door of my building, we get to the corner, and she slipped out of her prong collar and took off down the street. So I ran, and there was a lady walking her dog, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I grabbed a hold of her leash, and she took off again. So she wore her prong collar and a regular collar, her Harley collar. It's a big pink Harley nylon collar. Finally caught up to her, and I hooked into her collar, and she was like, nope, and slipped backwards, pulled the collar off her head, and took off again. And I'm like, oh no. Like, how am I going to get a hold of her? Chased her down Bank Street on Saturday morning. As she's running down the middle of Bank Street, sniffing the yellow line. I'm not joking. We had all kinds of people trying to help us catch her. It took us over an hour, and she ran, I don't know where we finally ended up catching her, in a parking lot somewhere. And some young guy who's unhoused had a tennis ball. So he brought the tennis ball, and he got her, and he was playing with her. And I kept trying to grab her, and she kept running away. And then finally she jumped up to give me a hug, and I just wrapped my arms around her. And Bridget straddled her while this young man put the collar on her, and then I clipped her in, and I was like, oh God. It was a rather terrifying way to start the day, to say the least. And I do have a shoulder harness. We have a couple of them. But all she did was, when I put the shoulder harness, she would pull. So we got the prong collar. It was like, well, I'm not using the prong collar anymore, because she got out of that so easily. It disturbed me. So I've got I've got a body harness on her now, and it's supposed to prevent her from pulling, that I got literally from the dollar store, of all places, Dollarama. It works great, and she still pulls, but not as bad. And yeah, that was our Saturday morning. So let's just say we got back home and slept, because we were physically and emotionally exhausted after that. Because every time I'd run up and catch up to her, she'd just look at me and think she was playing and take off again. So yeah, she shouldn't be able to get out of a prong collar, but she did. So yeah, body harness it is, and we're gonna get another. I'm picking up another leash for her, so I'll have double leash.
Okay.
One on collar, one on her regular collar. Well, she's not. Well, one on her harness and one on her collar, so that in the event she gets out of one, I have a secondary one. So anyway, that was our Saturday morning. It was troublesome, to say the least.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah. We have a few different harnesses for her, but I keep trying to find one that's like an anti-pulling harness, because a couple of the ones we have, she likes to pull. She just does it, So anyway, yeah, that was our Saturday morning.
Oh man.
Yeah. So yesterday I took her out several times, and last night I'm like, I have a good vibe, so I took her to the dog park with lots of other dogs, and she was great. She just played and had so much fun and ran around. And when I got her back home, she was exhausted. So after Saturday's adventure, I decided I would reward her by taking her to the dog park with other dogs, and she was great. It was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Heck of a day.
All right. Oh, you have a message to check your email, Mr. Grizzly.
Doing so now.
All right. I will take advantage of this opportunity to thank our founding sponsors. Okay. The Peppermaster, the Mystery Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Yes.
Oh my God, James, you're right. I gotta do. Look. So, sorry. James just sent me an email. Thank you, sir. Sorry. You sent me an email, and I have to take a photo down.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah, I got to take the photo down. Yeah.
Dish.
Well, I'm like, let's just say, you know how you take a photo of something and every now and then something shows up in a reflection of something? Well, something showed up in the reflection of the television screen. Yes. And we're laughing hysterically about it. Like,
oh no!
I didn't notice.
Oh.
He's like, yeah. So it was a cheeky photograph.
Okay, cheeky photograph.
Yes. Oh boy. Didn't even know. I'm like, I gotta delete that.
Got Saucy going, bunch of naked hippies rolling around with no pants on.
Best alarm clock ever.
Oh my God.
Oh boy. Total eclipse. Total eclipse of the
butt. Maybe a full moon anyway.
Full moon. Oh boy. I'm just, yeah. So we're off the rails this morning. Thank you for pointing that out, sir. I appreciate that, James. I didn't know. So I literally did one of those things. Kettle for sale. Remember that one? Kettle for sale years ago?
Oh God, my God. Oh my word.
Well, that's a good, yeah. The internet is forever. You are correct, Ellen. Yeah.
Oh, did that happen to make an appearance on a show?
Look, it will. Somebody somewhere is going like, oh yeah, I'm going to keep that. Oh, I'll get pilloried for that one. The hell is all over my coffee mug? I don't know.
Oh my God. Shit. Okay.
Do we have time to do a show now?
How's your mental health today, sir?
Well, I think it's pretty good now. I've had a great laugh, so I feel wonderful. Laughter is great medicine, and that was a good one. That was a good laugh.
Okay, I've got to send you something. Since we're
James, my work here is done. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. Okay. Somebody, I think you have to go in the embedded tweet, but somebody sent this to me with a picture of Blanche Devereaux.
Yeah.
From Golden Girls, like this, going with something on the bottom written, "How embarrassing," and with the caption, with the caption, "Make this make sense." And I'm going to say that the only response I can give to this is, "Hi there." Is I'm a beaver, not a magician.
Oh boy.
I'm sorry, I got nothing for you. I can't.
Well, this is the thing. We'll show this video because the question to the video is that Michael Myers? And I'm like, well, could be. Certainly looks like him. Let's just bring the video up here. It's a little loud and noisy because you hear generators and other stuff in the background, but this is a little disturbing.
So for people who are at home listening and not watching, it's basically a shot of one of these sort of, I guess it's a roadside type of protests from the Axe the Tax kind of anti-everything, whatever people that have sort of shown up since COVID. And suddenly into frame walks into someone like Michael Myers from the Halloween movies with a Michael Myers mask and the sort of blue mechanic overall type things and an axe, holding a Canadian flag and just standing there
In
motionless.
coveralls, blue coveralls. Yes,
Yeah.
It's just, I don't.
And I see Kit Saucy going, okay, won't lie, that's amazing. And yeah. And yeah, did the piano music start? If not, it's not the real Michael Myers. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there and I'm thinking that would have been cool though, actually. That would have been mwah. But I'm sitting there thinking, well, one, I've seen enough Michael Myers horror movies that, you know, when a guy wearing a mask and an axe just sort of shows up, you
Yeah.
may want to get out of there. Just saying.
Walking around with an axe, unless there's a fire or you're chopping wood, it's just, yeah.
I'd be that guy in Scream 76 going, dude,
Yeah.
that's a sign, run. But the other thing is, like, as much as I want to hate this, I think it's actually quite freaking brilliant.
It's hilarious. Dude, I saw that yesterday and I couldn't stop laughing. I'm like, what the heck? What is going, why? Like, why?
It calls to me. I mean, and here's the thing, right? If it's someone that actually supports the Pierre Poilievre thing, in one way, it's kind of disturbing, but
Yeah.
it's still somewhat genius. And if it's somebody that doesn't support the Pierre Poilievre thing, who's there and just trolling them, it's kind of badass. Which is why I can't hate it if it comes from the other. If it is coming from the other side, it's still kind of badass.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, again, it's maybe don't use serial killers, fictional or otherwise, as
It just doesn't send
vehicles for getting the message out.
Doesn't send a good message. It just doesn't. It's not a good message.
Oh my!
I know you're trying to axe attacks, but really, not a good way to go about it.
Man, then all of a sudden you got like guy shows up in a hockey mask, and another guy shows up with knife fingers.
Yeah, Freddy got fingers.
Well, in this case, Freddy was doing the fingering. Anyway, that movie scared. There was 2 horror movies that scared. Well, yeah, that scared the living daylights out of me. 3 really, I guess, but they're sort of similar, and 2 of them are similar. First one was Poltergeist.
Oh yes,
because I never knew whether or not that actually could really happen.
Well, the amount of people whose fear of clowns went up after that film too.
Yeah, but you know, supernatural stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't like gore, and the horror movies, like just the slasher films like this, like don't scare me,
Yeah,
right?
because
Like this, but the things, like Ouija boards,
yeah.
that type of stuff is like,
I get it.
I don't know if it's true, and I probably don't think it's true, but that's not a hill I'm willing to die on. So I'm not. So it's like, if there's something, there's a whole other dimension going on. Like if there are like spirits, like just like right here, right now, doing their thing, it's like, you do your thing in your dimension, and I'll do my thing in mine, and we don't have to cross. I will not like try to disturb you. Just you don't disturb, and we'll be fine. I don't want to know. I just, So that kind of stuff scares me. So yeah, poltergeist freaked me out, and the other one that freaked me, and I lost the title when we were talking about before. But that was the second one. Somebody's going to remind me on the chat, I'm sure. Freaks me out because it's one of those. Oh yeah, sorry, Nightmare on Elm Street. That one freaked me out because anything that has to do with dreams, like the concept that if you die in your dream, you die in life.
Well, let's see. Here's the thing about that. Do you know how many dreams I've had where I've fallen off a cliff?
Yeah.
Like literally, like Wile E. Coyote falling off a cliff, and I hit the ground, and I'm like, well, that didn't hurt. That didn't hurt. I get up and just dust myself off and walk away. Kind of bizarre.
Yeah. So yeah, and the other one was in that same vein, was maybe a little less known, was called Dreamscape, which came out like in the 80s or something like that.
I think I remember.
There was also something about like some guy that could jump in and out of dreams to try and help people or something. And so that kind of stuff is, just it freaks me out. So anyway, Mike Myers showed up at an Axe the Tax rally.
Yeah.
Somebody should ask William Shatner if he'd approve.
Yes, because that's who the Mike Myers mask was. It was Captain Kirk, and they just spray painted it white.
You caught it.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Exactly. All right.
I just wanted to, I put up the link on the screen there just to let my friend Missy, who's watching on Facebook, if you want to join, the chat, the Damn Fam, you can just go to YouTube at that address, YouTube / at True North of your Beaver Media, and you can join the chat with the Damn Fam. And I think you'd get along and love every single one of them because they're all wonderful people.
That is true. The best Damn Fam in all of podcasting. Trademark. Okay. I don't know how to register a trademark, actually. So.
You don't.
So I just keep on just saying trademark every time I say it, and hopefully that'll make it stick. So today is Eclipse Day. And for those of us living in a specific band throughout Mexico, Niagara Falls, Ontario, Kingston, all the way through Bonavista, Vista, Newfoundland, and Labrador, will have the privilege of seeing a total solar eclipse. If you're not in that area, even if you're in Vancouver, you'll be able to see a partial one. But in terms of like the full one, where you get to see basically just if you have the proper safety glasses, please, you get to see the whole corona effect when the moon fully covers the sun. That's a specific band, and there's expected to be a lot of tourism. According to what I've been reading, the city of Niagara Falls is expecting about 1 million people. Kingston's expecting about 500,000. It's going to be busy, and because of the hour at which it's happening, there's a lot of schools that may have given
a lot of them have
children the day off, and there's security reasons and all of that kind of stuff, but there's also scientific reasons. It seems that according to certain studies, it has been found that on total eclipse days, traffic accidents go up 31% in the time in the couple hours preceding to the couple hours following an eclipse. And if kids are leaving school around that time, you may not want.
We don't need a generation of visually impaired individuals.
Yeah, exactly. Also in terms of like people looking up and no adult supervision, but also in terms, like I said, traffic accidents and that type of stuff, right? weird things happen on eclipses.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put it that way. So
Full moons too.
yeah, full moons too. So make sure you do have a safe eye protection if you plan to check it out. Regular sunglasses will not cut it.
No.
Also, make sure that you actually have safe eye protection given from some place that you know, because there have been some noted scams if you bought your glasses on Amazon and that type of stuff.
Yeah, there's some bad stuff out there. A buddy of mine ordered a 5 because he could only buy 5 at a time. So he gave me a couple pairs, and they're Sola Luna. And he says, here's how you test them. You put them on, and you look up at the sun, and if all you see is like a tiny little yellow dot, he goes, you're good to go. If the sun looks any brighter than that, he goes, do not wear them during the eclipse. And yeah, sure enough, I tested them both out, and I'm like, yep.
So be very, very, very careful, because if something happens, you damage your eyes, you're not going to feel it the day of. The damage appears a few weeks later.
Yeah. Well, and I remember the last one in 1979, total eclipse over North America. And I was in Gander, Newfoundland at the time, and we were all excited for the eclipse. And then it was April in Newfoundland. So, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. Yeah, it was overcast and foggy. And I was in Gander, which is inland. That's not even close to the ocean. And it was cloudy and foggy, and it's like there was no glasses necessary because there was no sun to be seen.
So I am gonna go out on a limb and predict that today might be a National Call-in Sick Day.
Probably for a long time. I would assume. I'm working from home. So.
I really can't come in today. I'm sorry. I'm going to be not feeling well sometime between noon and 4.
Yeah.
For those who want a better view of it but don't want to risk going outside or want to see the full effect of it during it happening, CBC, I think the regular network as well as the news network will be having a 3-hour special from 1 to 4 today, hosted by Heather Hiscox, so that you can follow it. And if you're at home, cbcnewskids.ca website actually has a couple of interesting resources if your kids are talking about it and you want to point them to something. So, yeah, let's make it a fun day. Practice some safe viewing and practice safe driving. If you're in a place around that strip where a lot of people are coming to, be a little patient. Maybe take you longer to get in and out of places if you have traveled out. If you're planning to eat out, it might be a little longer for you. You might get longer for tables.
There's going to be lineups everywhere.
Service might be swamped. There might be a few more mistakes today.
Well,
So
in Niagara Falls,
be very kind to your servers.
Population, according to James, population in Niagara Falls is 50,000 people, and there's something like 500,000 that have gone there today.
They're expecting a full million.
A million. Oh,
a full
my
million.
Goodness.
Yeah. So
that's going to be wow.
Yeah, we'll see later if those are the numbers, but they're preparing for at least that much.
Well, I mean, their sewer system can't handle that. This is going to be bad.
That's what I'm saying. It's one of those be kind to those who have showed up.
Yeah.
Days.
People will
being
be
served
overwhelmed
in any way.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yes.
Oh my. Wow.
Bring your Canadian with you.
Yes. Be extra Canadian and show courtesy, kindness, and say sorry a lot, because you're going to need to.
Yes. And no worries. A lot. But enjoy the day. I mean, this is sometimes it's not even a once in a lifetime, sometimes once in a few lifetimes events to be able to see a full one right where you are. So if you have the advantage to be able to do that, live in the moment and maybe don't, somebody said, I heard on TV the other day or on the radio saying, you can actually take the time to actually watch the moment or try to capture it on your cell phone, but there are already a whole bunch of people that are prepared to catch it on camera.
Yeah.
today
Yeah.
on camera in the news spot like this.
You can see it
Just
somewhere.
enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
Enjoy the moment.
Well, so a friend of mine said yesterday, he says, how much you want to bet if I put out on the Twitter, and he doesn't even have a Twitter account. He says, how much you want to bet if I put out on the Twitter that the eclipse is actually, the government is doing this. They're going to block out the sun for a few minutes to reboot the nanites for the software upgrade of the COVID vaccine. And I went, here's the disturbing part.
Right here.
The disturbing part is the amount of people that would believe that. Like, if you put that out on Twitter, man, people will swallow that hook, line, and sinker. It's terrible, but it's true.
You didn't get your slip?
No, I didn't get one. I didn't.
I'm sorry. Sorry. That was a joke.
That was humor, folks. We were kidding about all of that. That's not.
No, because you have to make it explicit these days on these things.
Yes. Because if we don't say that was a joke, we weren't serious, we were just kidding, it was called sarcasm and humor. Some people have it, not everybody does, but it was sarcasm. You need to know that.
It was acting.
Exactly, John. Stop spreading misinformation.
Oh my word. All right. Let's see, what else do we have? Today apparently will be the release of an updated national defense policy.
Yes.
Often you've heard people refer to something called strong, secure, engaged. That was introduced in 2017 to set the priorities for the next 20 years. Defense Minister Bill Blair says that this update will guarantee the defense industry's stability and predictability to face changing global realities. That's about all we know about it for the moment. I don't know if there will be anything additional updated, for example, officially in the policy that says, for example, the prosecution and investigation of sexual misconduct cases in the military is now taken out of the military. This is a formal thing. That's submitted in the House of Commons under the revision of the National Defense Act. So it'll probably be put in that I'm not sure if it will appear in the policy yet, because I'm not sure if it's passed yet or if it says that it's coming. Anyway, there'll probably be some reference to it.
Well, I have an email here about just that. And the email, I guess, is from a viewer, and thank you, Team Trudeau 816. I guess there was a press conference yesterday, and a reporter asked the Prime Minister about AI. That is announcement tomorrow, which is going to be today, will involve Canada's defense policy. And the Prime Minister responded, so you want me to make tomorrow's announcement today? Ever hopeful, aren't you? Ever hopeful. Next question. So you want me to make tomorrow's announcement today? No. It's tomorrow's announcement.
Yeah, indeed. I love it. Yes. So speaking of the AI announcement, I think that there was one already over the course of the weekend, and I would. Yes, that there was about $2.4 billion set aside to build capacity in AI. Most of the money would give access to computing capabilities and technical infrastructure to researchers in industry to boost AI startups and support workers impacted by AI. Padiev, you know that 24 hours clip that we showed you where the guy said, I hope you remain opposition leader forever.
Yeah.
You're like great in that job. And he went, oh, I love you. Well, I guess he had to hear it to get it, but microphone was put in front of him and he got to, it's like he's spraying billions of dollars out of a fire hose, but it's more like spraying gasoline on a fire. That's like
what?
like coming up to a Yo Mama battle and go, Yo Mama's so nice, she makes the best chocolate chip cookies.
Mm.
Okay. I
can't. I won't. I refuse.
I don't know.
I do not comply.
I don't know. He submitted his list of requirements by letter to the Prime Minister for the budget. He wants more carbon tax carve-outs to farmers. Now we know that there's exemption for the production of food, but there's not exemption, for example, to dry the fuel that's needed for drying. I'm guessing Cassie might be able to help me out if she's here today. I'm not sure if it's just drying out hay or other things like that, but there's certain things that are not covered and there's certain things that are covered. So he's asking for more carve-outs to carbon in that way. He is asking also for him to require cities to permit more home building per year as a condition of receiving federal infrastructure money. I'm not sure that that's not the case now, because if the cities are not willing to build the infrastructure, there would be no accelerator fund deals or agreements being signed. I mean, that's the whole point of them. So I think the thing that he's asking for is actually already being done. It's kind of inherent in the design, right? You don't sign the deal if they're not going to be willing to do the work. So I'm not quite sure what that's in there for. And then, or as a condition of receiving federal infrastructure money, I guess he means it's for larger than just the Housing Accelerator Fund, just for overall infrastructure money, I'm guessing. And then to find $1 saving for every dollar in new spending, which sounds great as a slogan if you're not thinking of it, but the world doesn't work that way. The world doesn't work that way. Yes, sometimes if you want something else like this, you decide to not go out to restaurants for a month in order to save some money to get something else. That part, yes, can understand. But if there's a hole in your roof,
you should patch that hole.
Yeah, like this, and you shouldn't decide that you're not going to eat this month in order to make that up this month, right? The whole concept of, like this, for every dollar new spending, you found $1 like this. Well, let's say you've cut all the dollars, but you still need to spend on something new. Now, what do you cut? It's just some stupid jingoistic. It sounds good in 30 seconds. Well, yeah, that sounds reasonable. It's like, federal budget is not a kitchen table budget.
Yeah, no kidding. There's an entirely different thing.
So he's asking for that to happen. Kid James, I'll be looking at the full moon Paul provided all day today. Oh, monsieur, was it?
Oh boy, yeah. Oh boy. Well, yeah. That's yes. You got me. You got me. My mouth was open.
And then the Prime Minister responded to sort of that with, but once again, Pierre Poilievre is wrong, is not listening to experts and economists, and he's willing to hurt things Canadians rely on to get through these difficult times. Not wrong, I am liking this slightly saucier version of the Prime Minister. I'm not as surprised as a lot of people that it's coming out. When we talk about polls, and I keep on telling you the ones that we're looking at around this time, you should take them into consideration as to where we've just been in terms of where the public opinion is. But you also have to look at it in the context of this is sort of like kicking tires.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Right? There's nothing to be lost right now. A year and a half to 2 years to 2 years and a half, that sort of period, and even up to a year. That's before an election. Sometimes it's even 6 months, and then there's a switch.
Yes.
sometimes things revert right back to the mean right before an election, and everything that happened before just sort of gets wiped away as well. It sort of gives you the underlying mood, but I'm willing to be convinced, and then the election, turns something. But right now, right, it's just kind of. I'm looking at the other option, how much consideration is being given. And yes, okay, we have a 9-year, closing in on 9-year government. We'll be close to 10 by the time we get to the election.
Which is usually leader fatigue, right? And
right.
That's the concern.
Like that's this. But it seems that, so Canadians are indicating that they are definitely open for a change or feeling for it's time for a change. It's just the question right now, is it like Stephen Harper back in 2015, 16? Don't remember off the top of my head, 2015, where it was clear that he was going out the door. We just didn't know whether or not it was going to be Mulcair or Trudeau at that time. That was the real... The first half of the election was determining that. And once that was determined, then Harper was gone. And for a brief moment in that, while they were trying to decide between Mulcair and Trudeau, and they were close to neck and neck, Harper sort of popped up in the polls. But then that election, all three of them was leading in the polls at one point, which was fairly rare in Canada. So this one, it's similar. You're kicking the tires. There's nothing left there's nothing to lose, really. There's some interest, but other things seem to be indicating, in terms of polling, the negatives for Pierre Poilievre are still pretty solid, which would indicate that this is not in the bag yet, and people can still be convinced.
Well, we finally have the media reporting on his terrible, terrible attitude towards everything. And there's an article in the Toronto Star that I put in the chat that talks about, basically the gist of it is why Pierre Poilievre's over-the-top attacks on Justin Trudeau are bad for the country. It's like they're literally, the media is finally starting to report on the machinations. Did I say that correctly?
I say machinations, but I have no idea.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. It's the way that he's gone on about being the leader of the loyal opposition. He's just a hateful individual who attacks the Prime Minister on every single thing, blames him for every single thing, and so much of what he gets blamed for is not in his portfolio. And that's the part that people are starting to pick up on, which is what we've been reporting on this show for 3 years. It's like, look, go ahead and attack the man on his policy, but if you're blaming him for things that are not under his portfolio, you're an idiot. Yeah.
Now, see, the thing for me is why media like us, I say media like us, not us media, but smaller outlets, independent outlets that actually, even if they don't call themselves journalists, actually care about the principles of journalism, that they try to do their best to stick to them rather than just going off. But that group, why we are important in a certain way is that, we will catch a story earlier on and start talking about it and bring our audiences along. But there are a lot of stories. Like when I say I curate, like what I bring onto the show is about 1/6 of what I take notes down of.
Yeah. We can't cover it all. It's
what are we going to be talking about today? How much international? I'll try to keep it more focused on Canadian and bring some international stuff if it's going to affect us, or if it's really major to like overall issues of democracy. But like I'm curating the news, I'm paring this down, and there is a lot of news. So the window on mainstream media is very, 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 like if they were actually doing 24/7 news where they were covering filling 24/7 of different news, right? Yeah, okay, you'd be fine. But since it's the same news cycled over a certain number of period, it's competition for shelf space for all intents and purposes. So an issue probably that we notice here and that we're talking about, and that's bubbling under and brewing for months. Like, for example, the thing with the Indian government about the U.S. case against the people that were involved in assassination plots that they thought were sponsored somewhat by the Indian government. When that article came out, we reported on it then, but it wasn't until a few months later, after the Fifth Estate did something, that it really got to the mainstream media. It was like a one-day story that sort of went under and people didn't pay much attention to, but it had to come back in another format. And so with these kinds of stories, when they finally do get some attention on the mainstream media like this, they're finally coming, it's because they've done a lot of groundwork. They've gotten a lot of people talking about it, and there's something that has happened. There's either been an accumulation of things, which in this case there has been, or there's been a moment that has come up. And that moment, for example, could have been, Charlie Angus
Yeah.
of the NDP, deciding that after 20 years he is going to pack it in. The Conservatives have been really targeting his riding specifically.
Well, and did you see the post from the leader of the loyal opposition?
Well, that's what I'm referring to. I don't know if you have it handy.
I'll dig it up. I don't have it right in front of me, but I can dig it up.
How would I put it? When Brian Mulroney passed away, and Pierre Poilievre wrote something, something was posted on his Twitter account about it. It seemed to us like, he didn't write that. When Ed Broadbent passed away as well, it's like, he didn't write that. Ed Broadbent is someone he would have crucified. Right? Brian Mulroney is someone he would have crucified. But he wrote nice things about them. Well, nice things. Not Pierre Poilievre traditional dickish things about them. And for me, it was like, I'm not sure if you wrote that. That must have been one of your staffers. That doesn't sound like it came from you. And with regard to Brian Mulroney, I think it was Frank Graves. I might be wrong on that one. That said he wrote with more passion or empathy about Bitcoin or something.
Yes.
Because it was so bland. And so when someone has given over 20 years of service to the public, even if they're not of the same party as you are, people usually choose that moment to be gracious. Or at least to practice the age-old tradition of, if you have nothing nice to say, say nothing at all. And then there's Pierre.
Yeah.
Did you find it, Mr. Grizzly?
No, I'm still looking for it here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, I found it. I got it.
There you go.
Got it. Just a little bit of digging.
All ass, no class.
None. Zero. Like zero. I mean, 20 years as a parliamentarian, whether you agree with his policies, his party, his platform, it's neither here nor there. You could wish a colleague well. And this is what Pierre Poilievre wrote. Charlie Angus jumped ship rather than face voters after he voted to hike the carbon tax and ban the hunting rifles in Northern Ontarians. Ban the hunting rifles of Northern Ontarians. Common sense conservatives will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime, and let you keep your hunting rifle. Got nothing. Like, and the replies to this are, what kind of a jerk tweets crap like this? This comment speaks to your true character. Grow up. When are you stepping down, Pierre? We have all of our fingers crossed. Meanwhile, common sense Canadians speak in complete sentences, not three-word slogans. They expect concrete plans from a politician in full-scale election mode. Catchphrases and rhymes are for school children.
Yep. So, yeah. Pierre Poilievre, statesman. There you go. Now, Charlie Angus's departure, however, is notable because it is now about the 6th sitting NDP MP who has decided they are not coming back for the next election. We heard about Daniel Blakey, who has left because he's going to work with Premier Wab Kinew in Manitoba. And he's bringing his talents over there. Richard Cannings and Randall Garrison, who are MPs from British Columbia, had previously announced that they would not be running it again. And then Charlie Angus has now announced he's not running again, as is Carol Hughes. They're both from Northern Ontario. And Rachel Blaney, who's the whip from BC, has also indicated that she is not returning. As I mentioned when I was talking about Charlie Angus, his riding being targeted, Pierre Poilievre has been there 6 times. And Angus has been getting a lot of hate calls and a lot of hate mail, and he shared some of that with the public. So to know what he's kind of up against. Jagmeet Singh saluted the 3 most recent MPs who announced that they will not return. He is saying that this is kind of normal in some of the cases. He says we have MPs who have been MPs for 20 years, so it's normally normal that they'll want to retire at this time. It's always hard when we lose incumbents, but we have several star candidates who will run, former city councillors and provincial representatives. Some of the reasons that the MPs have stated for leaving as well is that there will be boundary changes in the next coming election, because we're going from 338 seats to 343, I think.
I'm not sure. They're adding a few, but it's necessary.
Or 353, maybe. Not sure.
It's necessary because we've grown. Right?
We've grown. But they will be adding some seats, which means that the boundaries of some of the ridings, electoral districts, may be changing. And that's one of the things that we talked about in the case of Jamil Javani. A lot of people expect him to be just a 1 year or 1 year and a half MP, because the boundaries will change in both ridings and he will not win. We will see. If that's the case. But as Chantal Hébert made the point very astutely, I believe, on the bridge with Peter Mansbridge, if not also on at SU, is that these 6 MPs represent about a quarter of his caucus.
That's
and while one may indeed accept that Charlie Angus, after 20 years, he decided it's time to go, that's enough. I can accept that. Daniel Blakey, your party whip. I don't know. And when you add to that, like currently, for example, the Alberta provincial NDP is discussing specifically a provision that would make it such that being a member of the Alberta NDP does not necessarily also mean you have to be a member of the federal NDP. Because it seems for the NDP, it was the case in many provinces, if not all, at least at origin, membership in a provincial party necessarily meant membership in the federal one as well. And it's over the past little while, provinces have been severing that tie. Alberta has not yet, officially, even though we know that there wasn't a lot of love between Rachel Notley and Jagmeet Singh. But it seems that going into this leadership race, there is a push from a segment of the membership to make that formal. Mr. Singh's not doing well, especially when you consider that, at least based on the most recent Nanos poll, and we'll have to see how that affects on the aggregator, but anywhere under 20% is not good. 23 to 26 is performing very well by even historical standards. 22, 21, you're sort of middle of the road, but under 20 is typically not considered very good for an NDP.
Right.
And if you're hovering in the 16s, even, that's almost, we're looking at almost being wiped out. And right now, at least with Nanos, he's coming in at 18. And that's after 3 years of the supply and confidence agreement, which it is my personal belief and I've mentioned it many times, he has not marketed that well.
No.
Because he tried to market that as, dragging an unwilling government kicking and screaming to the table.
Which was never actually the case.
Which was never actually the case. And rather than build his reputation as a mediator and as a nation builder, he chose to, as a guy who strong arms, was able to use his influence to make people do stuff.
We brought you pharmacare. We brought no. The sitting government did, and you supported it.
This may be why he is where he is now. Is that decision 3 years ago?
Yeah,
I'm going to sign the supply and confidence agreement. Now,
that
when
was
we get
2022, that occurred.
2022, sorry, 2 years ago.
2 years
I'm going to sign this agreement. And when we have an achievement, what am I going to do with that achievement?
I'm going to take full credit for it, like I did it myself.
And that, like this. But hey, listen, when you're sitting in the strategy room, and you're saying, like this, okay, yeah, take the strategy yourself like this, but then you have to do something with that. You can't just pop up one day or two, say, I did that, and then disappear. And then the next thing that gets ticked off on the box, pop up and say, I did that, then disappear, then pop.
It's whack-a-mole.
Like this. And you can't get that much. You can't have accomplished that much being the fourth party.
No, you simply can't.
All of it. You could maybe anti-scab legislation. You could have taken credit for it because that's way down traditional in the roots. Dental care to a certain extent, But like, let's say anti-scab legislation, let's say, even though you needed help, you could have said that was really us. We really pushed that. Because liberal governments in the past have used anti-scab legislation to get people back to work. Both parties have done that, so that one you can claim. And let a couple of others slide by saying, yeah, like this, if it wasn't for the cooperation, but, we put it on the agenda. There were so many other ways to play that, to build and build and build.
Yeah.
Till you get to this point, what are you left with? And I'm thinking that's the thing, with Pierre Poilievre, with these articles. We kept on saying it on this show. He's got 22 months. He's got 18 months. Can he maintain this for 22 months? Will this act get tired? Will this act get bored? People are bored of this act. They want to know what the meat is on the bones. They say that he doesn't have any. All of a sudden, there's blood in the water. Now you're getting some of these articles. He won't be able to keep doing this for 18 months like this. And if he's got nothing, I feel like all he's got is Trudeau bad, really. Well, and if their attitude is really going to be, we're not going to put any concrete policy in the window, we're just going to put slogans, but no real concrete policy in the window that you can analyze until the election, like Melissa Slansman told us around Christmas time. Then they're going to have to write stories about other things now, aren't they?
Well, I think Vim is nailed it here. Jagmeet is in it for his own ego. And I think that's, it certainly seems to be.
So it seems to me that, like I said, for both opposition leaders, the seeds to their self-implosion have already been planted and
they're starting to grow. They're starting
to grow. Yeah. Yes. And meanwhile, you have a prime minister at the moment that is, the seeds that he's planting are things that seem to indicate that he cares about housing, he cares about AI, he cares about the future of the economy, sending the signal that his government is not tired and not out of ideas. And so we'll see where it goes. For all three parties, that these are big gambles, because with the amount of runway that there is left, if you say that 3 weeks is a lifetime in politics, or even a week is a lifetime in politics, and we've got about 18 months to go, says there's plenty of time for the Liberals to do a slow, gradual shift, right? And not have spent all their shot in that for last year already.
I think that's what they're doing right now. You saw that press conference the other day where the Prime Minister literally went after Conservative premiers for doing nothing. He shredded them. He shredded them. And people were like, oh, I didn't, he's capable.
Well, that's the other thing right now is that usually the premiers run against the prime minister, but the premiers have been so freaking obstinate.
Yes, that's the perfect word.
That now the prime minister actually has a lane running against the premiers. He has a viable one.
Yeah, a legitimate viable lane.
This is going to be fun.
Well,
Because if the prime minister can completely ignore Polyev, run against the premiers, and just say that Polyev will do what the premiers will do,
yeah.
Polyev has no plan for that.
Well, and Polyev has lost Andrew Coyne some time ago.
Yeah.
Like Andrew Coyne has no respect for this man. I mean,
no.
He just, I'm looking at a column and the art, there's a passage from the article that says, it used to be people wanted leaders they could look up to. Now, the people who support Polyev want someone as small and insecure as they are themselves.
They want, rather than wanting someone they can look up to, they want someone else who will look down at the same people they're looking down on.
That's exactly why Trump won, right? Because he hates the same group of people that his supporters hate, and that's all they want.
And
they don't want
be their retribution.
They don't want solutions. They don't want policy. They just want somebody to hate as much as they do too.
Yep, it's really that.
Guess
that's
what
it boils down to.
And that will not win you an election. Not in this country. It won't. There are too many good people in this country because they look at Polyev and see what he's doing and how he's dividing people and how he is dividing people by saying and doing the things he does. Most Canadians, the vast majority, are like, I want nothing to do with that guy. And I know people are like, I'm sick of Trudeau. I want to change, but we don't have an alternative. There is not a viable alternative available. There isn't. So I'm voting Liberal in the next election. I've heard that from so many people.
That's going to be the campaign, right? Has to be the thing for Liberals. It's not, I'm great. It's like viable versus not viable.
He's not a leader. He's not a leader. And they pick on the Prime Minister for being a drama teacher. So let me see if I get this correct. The man who taught a semester of drama, who was actually a math and literature teacher, who also worked as a snowboard instructor and a bouncer. So somebody who's actually worked in the real world to earn money, as opposed to Pierre Polyev, who has only ever been a member of parliament, who does not have any concept of what it's like to actually work hard to earn enough money to keep a roof over your head. He has no concept. The man was 33 years old? Not even that old, when he was handed his golden parachute, his fully indexed pension for life. The man could walk away from politics tomorrow and earn quadruple what I'm earning right now and do nothing for the rest of his life. And this man picks on the Prime Minister for actually working for a living, for being an educator, one of the most important jobs someone can have in this country, by nurturing the next several generations. And they pillory him for that. Well, fuck you, Polyev. Fuck you. Fuck you for picking on the working man. Fuck you for picking on the common person and trying to play up to the common person because the common people are experts. No, we're not. Experts are experts. Not you. You've never worked a goddamn day in your life. So shut your fucking pie hole. Oh, I'm pissed.
Okay.
I'm pissed. I'm sorry. I'm pissed. I'll dial it back. I'll reel it in. I'm sorry. I'm just so tired of this garbage. I'm so tired of it. It's the hateful rhetoric. It's this lying. Yes, Michael, thank you. Deep breaths.
Yeah.
Deep cleansing breaths. I will be doing a show at 9 p.m. this evening for those of us who need to calm down and chill out, because I do. Clearly I do.
All right, kids and cubs, I have to make a quick exit. So that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember that sharing is caring, word of mouth is priceless, so please tell your peeps and poops all about us. If you would like to make sure you do not miss an episode, you do not have to. Thanks to the Ray Girl, she has sponsored our pod page. That's podpage.com/The True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you subscribe there, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, that'll come directly to you. And if you're watching right now, the QR code that just appeared underneath my goatee, if you scan that, that will bring you right there. If you would like to help us out in other ways, make like Kit Elaine and go to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page and click on like, share, and subscribe, or any combination of those buttons. We don't care, but we hope you click all three because that makes us happiest of all. And if you would like to support us in other ways, the QR code by Mr. Grizzly's head brings you to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund. And yes, this beaver definitely will need to be kept hydrated. Moving from one show to another show to family coming over. It's been a busy time and renovations. So, yes, I need a drink. And if you would like to help out with that, well, if you scan that QR code, that brings you to our coffee page. Coffee, that's ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters with the hyphen between each one of those words. Sorry, no hyphen between each one of those words. Lowercase letters all in one word for our coffee page. So let me try that again. ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters all in one word. There you go. And if you like what we do, we would definitely appreciate a contribution. But of course, the gift of your attention is the most important. We thank you very much for that. If you'd like to write to us, we'd love to hear from you. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com. And if you're listening on Apple, please, please, please leave us some stars and some reviews. Very, very grateful for that. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. I forgot to say, because democracy is something that you do, write those letters. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom, please?
Yes, do not stare at the sun ever, especially today if you're in southwestern Ontario or in the Ottawa Valley or in Montreal or in parts of New Brunswick. Do not look at the eclipse unless you have proper protective eyewear, because you will go blind.
All right. Mr. Grizzly, as Kit Michael would say, cue that cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. Kids, you're just the best up there. Hydrate your beaver.
Yeah, I saw that one. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. And check the background of your boudoir photos.
Yes. Always check the background of your boudoir photos. All right.
All right. I'll go. I'll see you. Yeah. All right. Take care.
Luck.
Bye.